Nilo sat in the broken pilot seat of his escape pod, blinking slowly as the smoke faded around him. The ship had crashed only minutes ago, and his ears were still ringing. He reached for the straps round his shoulders and unbuckled them. His arms ached, and there was a small cut on his forehead. He wiped the blood away with the back of his sleeve. He was alive, outside the cracked glass window. A dark red sky hung over a rocky land. Strange tall stones stood like teeth in the distance. Blue lights shimmered along the horizon, moving like fireflies. He had never seen anything like it. He checked the screen on the console. The location blinked in red: Moon ID, Velkarith. Classified landing. Emergency crash survival probability, 11%. Nilo gave a tired laugh. That's better than 0. He grabbed a small pack from behind the seat and stepped out into the cold air. The ground was hard and dry beneath his boots. His breath turned to mist. The escape pod was useless now. He'd have to find shelter and, somehow, food. As he walked forward, something moved in the distance. A soft, buzzing sound echoed in the wind. He turned sharply, but nothing was there. Hello? He called, but there was no reply. He remembered the stories. This moon was avoided by all. Ships went missing near it. Some said the moon was cursed. Others said it was home to an ancient alien race that hated all outsiders. But Nilo didn't believe in ghost stories. Not until now. He wandered for hours, using his small scanner to search for water or energy. Nothing. Just rocks, shadows, and glowing plants that pulled away when he touched them. As night came, the sky turned purple, and small moons rose above the hills. Nilo was cold and tired, and he found a small cave to rest. He placed a heat pad on the floor and sat down while eating a protein bar. He heard the buzzing again, closer this time. Suddenly, the wall behind him shook. A part of it cracked open, like a hidden door. Nilo jumped to his feet and pulled out his flashlight. Inside the crack, a staircase led downward into darkness. Faint green lights pulsed along the steps. This doesn't feel like a good idea, he muttered. But staying on the surface was worse. If something had built this tunnel, maybe there was a way to survive below. A chance was better than none. He walked down the stairs slowly. The air grew warmer, thicker. The stone walls were smooth, too smooth to be natural. Strange symbols glowed softly along the sides. The deeper he went, the louder the buzzing became, and then he saw it. The tunnel opened into a giant underground chamber. It looked like a living city made of stone and bone. Towers stretched into the dark ceiling. Bridges made of silk and glass crossed bubbling rivers. The walls moved, as if breathing. He had found something no human had ever seen before. An alien hive. He took one step into the chamber and alarms rang out. Red lights flashed. The buzzing turned into a sharp whine. Before he could run, something heavy landed behind him. Nilo turned and saw a tall figure with black armor, insect-like legs, and glowing blue eyes. Another landed to his left, then another. He raised his hands. Wait, I'm not here to fight. They didn't answer. One of them struck him in the chest, and everything went black. When he woke up, he was in a large room. The floor was soft like moss. Thick vines covered the walls, and glowing crystals floated above. His hands were tied behind his back, but not tightly. It was more like a warning than a prison. He heard footsteps, or maybe claw steps. The air turned cold, and then she entered. She was twice as tall as him, with a long crown of bone and glowing violet eyes. Her body shimmered with silver armor that looked like it was part of her. Her wings folded behind her like a cape. She didn't walk, she floated slightly above the ground. This was the queen of the hive. She looked at him, not with anger at first, but confusion, like she was trying to understand what he was. Her voice was not spoken, but it echoed inside his head. You are human. Nilo nodded slowly. Yes, I didn't mean to come here. My ship crashed. Her eyes narrowed. The air shook with her next words. Your kind should not be here. This moon is sacred. It remembers your wars. Nilo shook his head. I don't know anything about that. I just want to survive. She stared at him for a long time. Then her voice became louder, sharp, and angry. Why don't you leave me alone, human? The room shook with the sound. Nilo didn't know what to say. He didn't come to fight. He didn't come to steal. But somehow, his presence had opened old wounds, and now, deep below the surface of a forgotten moon, one human had become the center of something far greater than he understood. Nilo sat quietly on the smooth floor of the strange room. The soft glow of floating crystals above him gave the chamber a calm, eerie light. His hands were now free, though he hadn't dared to move. Guards still stood by the tall doorway silent, still watching. He didn't know if he was a prisoner, a guest, or just a problem no one had figured out how to solve yet. His mind raced with questions. Who were these creatures? Why did the queen seem so angry, so afraid? What was this place? He had heard stories of alien hives, but they always sounded like tales made to scare children or warn explorers to stay away. But this was real. He was sitting in the heart of one. Time passed slowly. A soft buzz filled the air, and the guards suddenly moved aside. Nilo stood up as another figure entered. It was smaller than the others, shorter, thinner, with soft yellow lights on its arms and chest. It carried a small device that looked like a toolkit. The creature stopped a few feet from Nilo. It tilted its head, studying him. Hello? Nilo tried. No reply. The small alien pointed to the cut on Nilo's forehead. Then it opened its kit and gently held out a round, clear patch. Nilo hesitated, then nodded. The creature stepped forward and placed the patch over the wound. A warm feeling spread across his skin, and the pain faded quickly. Thanks, he said, surprised. The alien made a soft clicking sound almost like a chirp. It pointed to itself and tapped its chest twice. Your name? Nilo guessed. The alien tapped its chest again and made the same clicking sound. Tika. Nilo smiled. Tika. Okay, I'm Nilo. He pointed to himself and then to her. Nilo. Tika. Tika made the same chirping sound again. They had understood each other. After that, Tika visited every few hours. She brought him food, not the best tasting, but it kept him alive. It was soft, blue, and jelly-like. She also handed him small items, broken tools, cracked lights, even a damaged drone. Nilo realized what she wanted. She was testing him. So, slowly, he started fixing them. It wasn't easy. Their tech was strange, like a mix of metal and living parts. But Nilo was good with machines. He had learned from old human ships, old wires, old problems. A broken thing was just a puzzle waiting for hands and time. Each time he fixed something, Tika's eyes lit up. She chirped happily, sometimes even clapping her small hands together. For the first time since the crash, Nilo smiled. One day, while following Tika through the winding tunnels of the hive, he saw it a wide, glowing wall filled with moving shapes. It was a map, a living one. It showed the entire hive, deep under the moon's surface. He saw towers, bridges, and rooms far larger than he had imagined. But there was something else. A pulsing red area near the center. Nilo pointed to it. What's that? Tika's light dimmed a little. She looked down, then pulled him away from the map. She led him through a narrow tunnel until they reached a dark room. The air inside was heavy and warm. Machines lined the walls, dead or sleeping. It was hard to tell. In the middle of the room was a thick pipe, cracked and leaking dark liquid. The smell was sharp, almost rotten. Tika pointed to it and then looked at him. You want me to fix this? He asked. She nodded. Nilo looked around. It would take hours, maybe days. But something told him this was important. Maybe the leak was hurting the hive. Maybe that red area on the map was connected. So he got to work. For the next days, Nilo didn't rest much. Tika brought tools, sometimes parts. The hive didn't like him being in that room. He could feel it. The walls pulsed faster. The lights dimmed. But he kept going. Finally, he sealed the pipe and rerouted the energy. The dark liquid stopped leaking. The machines hummed quietly again. Tika touched the wall. It glowed bright green. She turned to him and bowed. He didn't know what to say. Later that night, Nilo was resting when the room filled with a soft hum. The walls moved aside, and the queen entered once more. Her eyes were not angry this time, but they were still sharp, cold, like a storm hiding behind glass. She stood tall, wings folded, crown glowing. You fixed the deep heart. Her voice echoed in his mind. Nilo stood slowly. Yes, it looked damaged. It could have spread poison. The queen studied him. No human has ever touched the heart and lived. I didn't mean harm, he said again. I just saw something broken. I wanted to help. She walked closer. Humans helped destroy our old hives. Your kind brought fire to our skies. You don't belong here. I didn't choose to come here, he replied, calm but firm. But now that I'm here, I want to make things right. The queen was silent. Then, quietly, she asked, why? Nilo thought for a moment. Because I know what it's like to be alone, to have everything fall apart, to feel like the world forgot you. He looked at her. Maybe we're not so different. The queen's wings shifted slightly. Her glow softened. She turned without a word and walked away. But the guards didn't close the doors behind her this time. The lights in the tunnels glowed brighter. The air smelled cleaner. The walls no longer pulsed with pain or warning, but with quiet life. Nilo walked beside Tika through the long hallways. The Zarathi workers no longer looked at him with fear. Some even paused to watch him pass. Their bright eyes followed him with quiet curiosity. He could tell they were starting to accept him. Still, there was one who did not, Queen Vrexa. She had not called for him since the night he repaired the deep heart. Days passed, and he saw no sign of her. Yet he could feel her presence in them. Hive her mind touching the walls, the air, even the machines. She was always watching. One day, as he helped Tika reconnect a broken power node near the hive's center, the wall beside them suddenly darkened. A cold wind swept through the chamber. The queen stepped out from the shadow gate. Tika bowed low. Nilo stood slowly, unsure what to do. Vrexa moved closer, her tall form glowing with silver light. Her violet eyes burned with something sharp and wild. You repair, you build, you speak kindly, her voice echoed. But I still do not trust you. Nilo met her gaze. I didn't come here to earn trust. I came here because I crashed. But since I'm here, I want to help. The queen narrowed her eyes. Do all humans speak in circles? Nilo gave a half smile. Only the ones who want peace. She stepped even closer. Then answer me without tricks. What do you want, human? Nilo took a breath. I want to survive. And I want this place, your hive, to survive too. Silence followed. Then, suddenly, the queen's wings spread wide. A powerful wave of energy pushed through the air like thunder. Nilo stumbled back. The lights around them flickered. Her voice roared like a storm inside his head. You say you want peace, yet your kind burned our sky. You say you want to help, yet your ships once tore our world apart. Why should I let you live, human? Why shouldn't I end this now? Tika stepped forward, holding up a small hand. But the queen did not move. Nilo stood still, even as fear twisted in his stomach. I'm not the same human who did those things, he said. I don't know who attacked your people. Maybe they thought they were right. Maybe they were wrong. But I'm not them. He pointed to the repaired machine behind him. I didn't bring war here. I brought life. I fixed what was broken. The queen's eyes burned brighter, but she did not attack. I know you're angry, Nilo continued. You've lost much. I can feel it in the walls, in the hive. You've carried this pain for a long time. He stepped forward slowly, but holding onto that pain will only destroy you too. The queen stared at him in silence. For a long moment, neither of them moved. The hive held its breath. Then her wings lowered. The sharp air softened. You speak as if you understand pain, she said more quietly. I do, Nilo said. My home is gone, my crew. They didn't survive the crash. I've had to start over, just like you. The queen looked away for a moment. You speak of loss, but you do not carry a hive in your bones. No, he said, but I carry the weight of what I've lost, and I carry the hope of what I might still protect. A quiet hum echoed through the chamber. The queen's anger faded into stillness. Her voice returned, soft but firm. You are a strange human, Nilo. He smiled a little. I've been told that before. Later that day, Nyla was brought to a large chamber he hadn't seen before. The ceiling stretched high, and hundreds of small floating crystals danced in the air, lighting the room like stars. A group of Zarathi stood in a circle, their wings folded respectfully. In the center stood Queen Vrexa. She raised her hand, and the hive fell silent. This human, she said, has touched our heart and brought no harm. He has helped where others would have taken. He has spoken where others would have silenced. Her violet eyes turned to Nyla. You are not one of us, she said. But today, we acknowledge that you have earned a place here. She stepped aside and allowed him to stand in the circle. Tika came forward and handed him a small glowing symbol of soft crystal with hive markings. It pulsed gently in his palm. What is this? Nyla asked. A mark of passage, Vrexa said. It means you may move freely through the hive. The walls will not fight you now. He bowed slightly. Thank you, she nodded once. You still carry the blood of a race we do not forget, but you have shown that change is possible. The chamber echoed with soft clicking sounds, Zarathi voices in approval. For the first time, Nyla didn't feel like a stranger anymore. He felt like someone who belonged. That night, Nyla sat beside a small energy fountain, watching the lights dance in the water. Tika sat nearby, drawing shapes in the dust. He looked up at the ceiling and smiled. I don't think I was supposed to survive that crash, he said quietly. Tika tilted her head. But maybe, he continued, it happened for a reason. Tika made a soft sound of agreement. From the shadows above, Queen Vrexa watched them both. Her wings were folded, her eyes thoughtful. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. For now, the hive was calm. But deep in the corners of her mind, she sensed something else coming. Something dark, something that did not care for peace. The human had earned a place here. But soon, he would have to fight for it. The machines that once slept now hummed softly. The vines along the walls glowed green with life. The air was warmer, the lights steadier. Workers moved quickly through tunnels, building new bridges and repairing old chambers, and in the center of it all, the human Nyla worked side by side with them. He had become part of the hive not by force, but by choice. Tika stayed close to him, teaching him the ways of the Zarathi, their symbols and systems, their tools and machines. Nyla showed her how to make stronger circuits and cleaner power lines. Together, they were building a quiet bond. Even Queen Vrexa no longer stared at him with hate. She still watched him closely, but now with something else in her eyes, respect, perhaps, or curiosity. But peace never lasts forever. One morning, Nyla was working near the outer wall of the hive, helping connect a cooling unit. When his scanner blinked red, he frowned. That's strange. Tika looked at the screen. A pulsing dot appeared just outside the hive's edge. Then another, and another. Tika clicked nervously. Nyla's voice grew quiet. That's not a sensor error, is it? She shook her head. The hive alarm began to ring, a deep, rumbling tone that echoed through every tunnel. The queen's voice followed, calm but strong. All workers returned to safe chambers. Guard units to the outer edge. This hive is under threat. Nyla ran after Tika as she rushed to the command center. There, Queen Vrexa stood before a large glowing wall that showed the hive's surroundings. Red marks blinked across the map. Vrexa turned to Nyla, the Draskin. Nyla had heard the name before. In old files, in quiet stories, a race of war-hungry creatures. Part machine, part beast, no mercy, no reason. They found you? He asked. They've always hunted us, she said, but we have hidden well, until now. She looked at him sharply. They followed your crash signal. That's how they found us. Nyla felt guilt rise in his chest. I didn't mean no. Vrexa interrupted. You did not. But now we must survive it, together. The hive's defenses were old. Some had not worked in years. Nyla saw towers without power, turrets filled with dust, gates that no longer closed. He worked fast. He led teams of Zarathi workers, fixing energy lines, connecting backup batteries, even rewiring ancient defense nodes. I need more time, he told the queen. You have until the next moonrise, she answered. Then they will strike. Nilo looked out at the dark sky. That gave him less than 10 hours. Tika stayed with him as he worked. She moved quickly, her hands steady, her eyes bright with focus. They shared no words, just a rhythm of action. At one point, a tower beside them sparked and burst into flames. Nilo jumped back, coughing. Tika grabbed a hose and sprayed the fire out. Nilo looked at her with wide eyes. You saved my life again. She tilted her head, then gave a soft click that almost sounded like a laugh. As the moon began to rise, the hive fell silent. From the far hills, dark shapes moved, the Draskin. They walked like spiders and wolves, metal fused with flesh. Their red eyes glowed in the dark. Their bodies hissed with steam. They carried no flags, no signs, no voices, only destruction. Queen Virexa stood at the highest platform, her wings wide, her guards behind her. Beside her stood Nilo, holding a strange-looking control panel made from both human and Zarathi tech. You shouldn't be here, she said. I helped build the defenses, he replied. I'm not hiding while they attack. She studied him for a moment, then gave a single nod. Then fight beside us. The first wave came fast. Draskin crawlers smashed into the outer gates, their claws tearing at stone. But Nilo had recharged the shock lines. Blue electricity danced across the walls, burning the invaders back. Gate to holding, he shouted. Tika relayed the message through the hive's signal line. Next, flying Draskin dived from the sky. But the old towers, now awake, fired bursts of green plasma. One by one, the flyers fell, smoke trailing from their bodies. The hive shook as another explosion hit the west wall. We need more power to the turrets, Nilo called. Tika ran to the nearest panel and rewired the fuse. Lights flared. The turrets roared louder. Hours passed like minutes. The hive held strong, but only just. Nilo's arms ached. His back hurt. His hands were covered in dirt and grease. But he didn't stop. He saw wounded Zarathi being carried away. He saw Tika's shoulder get grazed by flying metal. Still, she kept working. Queen Virexa fought too. Her wings flashed like blades. Her voice became a weapon shouting orders, giving strength to her people. And through it all, Nilo kept going. At dawn, the last Draskin wave broke against the hive's inner wall. Nilo stood before the power core, rerouting every drop of energy into the main cannon, a huge weapon that had not been used in generations. It's ready, he shouted. Virexa flew to the cannon's control point. For the hive, she said. She fired. A beam of white fire shot into the sky. It struck the Draskin's central engine, a giant walker that had been moving toward the heart of the hive. The explosion lit up the hills. Then, silence. The Draskin were gone. The hive was broken in places. Walls cracked, towers burned. But it still stood. Nilo sat on the ground, breathing hard. Tika sat beside him, her arm wrapped in cloth. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Queen Virexa landed quietly nearby. You fought well, she said. So did your people, Nilo replied. She looked at the sky. This is not the end, she said. They will return, stronger. Then we'll be ready, Nilo said. Virexa turned to him. We? He looked up at her. I'm not leaving. Not now. You need someone who understands both your world and mine. She was quiet, then said, Perhaps you are more hive than human now. A small smile touched her lips. And in that quiet moment, the hive lived. The air smelled of dust and smoke, and the walls bore cracks where the Draskin had struck hard. But life continued. Workers repaired the damage, rebuilding what was broken. The sound of tools and the soft hum of machines filled the tunnels again. Nilo walked carefully through a corridor, his boots echoing on the stone floor. Tika followed closely, her bright eyes scanning their surroundings. We can't let the Draskin win, Nilo said softly. Tika nodded, clicking softly. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. At first, it was just a soft vibration. Then a deep rumble shook the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. The hive shook violently, a hive quake. Nilo caught himself against the wall as the shaking grew stronger. Tikka's antennae twitched nervously. The trembling lasted for several long seconds, then faded into silence. But the damage was clear. Walls had cracked wide open. Bridges had collapsed. Deep fissures ran along the floor, splitting tunnels. Nilo looked around. We have to warn the others. He hurried to the central chamber where Queen Vrexa waited. Her eyes were sharp as ever, but there was a flicker of worry. The hive quake is the worst sign, she said. The moon itself is waking. Nilo frowned. What does that mean? The hive lives with the moon, Vrexa explained. Our ancestors built it inside this rock. When the moon moves, the hive moves, but these quakes, they grow stronger. They mean something beneath us is stirring. Tikka chirped softly. Vrexa looked at Nilo. If the moon breaks, the hive will break. Nilo swallowed hard. Then we need to find what's causing it and stop it, the queen gave an order. Teams would explore the deepest tunnels, searching for the source of the hive quake. Nilo joined one team, eager to help. The deeper tunnels were dark and narrow, and the air was heavy with age. The team moved slowly, shining their lights on ancient walls covered with strange symbols. Some of the signs looked like warnings. Suddenly, the ground shook again. A low growl echoed through the tunnels. Something moved in the darkness ahead. Nilo's heart pounded. Out of the shadows, a massive creature appeared. It was covered in hard plates, with many glowing eyes and sharp claws. A guardian of the hive. But disturbed and angry, the creature roared, shaking the ground. The team froze. Vrex's voice came through their radios. Do not attack unless necessary. This is the hive's protector. Nilo took a slow step forward. He raised his hands. We mean no harm, he said calmly. The creature growled again, but then it paused. Its many eyes seemed to study Nilo. Slowly, it backed away into the shadows. Nilo breathed out. The team continued. Finally, they reached a giant cavern beneath the hive. The air was thick and hot. In the center was a massive crystal, glowing with strange energy. The crystal pulsed. Invibrated. Nilo touched his scanner to it. The readings showed dangerous energy levels. This must be it, Nilo said. The source of the quakes. Tikka added. Vrex's voice came again. That crystal is the heart of the moon. It holds the power of this place. But it is unstable. Nilo looked closer. The crystal was cracked, and dark veins of energy leaked from it. If it breaks, Vrexa said softly, the hive will collapse. Nilo knew they had to act. With help from the Zarathi engineers, they began stabilizing the crystal. Nilo worked on the energy flows, using parts from the damaged hive. Hours passed. The crystal pulsed wildly, but slowly the dark veins shrank. The ground trembled less. The hive quake stopped. When the work was done, Nilo sat beside the crystal, tired, but relieved. Vrexa came to him, her wings folded. You saved the hive again, she said. Nilo smiled. We saved it, she nodded. But this is only the beginning, she warned. The hive and the moon are linked. The future is uncertain. Nilo looked at her. We'll face it, together. The hive was alive once more, and so was hope. The repairs after the hive quake were almost complete. New bridges stretched across deep fissures. Walls were patched and strengthened. The air smelled fresh again, and the glow of the crystals was steady. But something deeper stirred beneath the surface. Queen Vrexa sat in her chamber, surrounded by her advisors. Their wings flicked nervously. The room hummed with tension. Vrexa's violet eyes fixed on Nilo, who stood beside Tikka. We have survived much, she said. But your presence here brings new challenges. The other hives will question this, Nilo frowned. The other hives, yes, Vrexa replied. Our kind is divided across many worlds. Some will see your rival as a threat or a weakness. Tikka clicked softly, adding, some Zarathi fear that humans will bring war again. Nilo nodded slowly. I don't blame them for being afraid. Your history with humans is not peaceful. The queen leaned forward. Then why should they trust you? Why should I trust you? Nilo looked at her honestly. Because I want to help. I want to build, not destroy. Days later, a message arrived. A Zarathi ambassador from a distant hive came. His name was Ricker, tall and stern, with sharp eyes and folded wings. He arrived with a small guard. Entering the queen's chamber without ceremony, "You bring a human into our sacred hive," Ricker said coldly. "This is dangerous," Vrexa stood. "He has proven himself loyal." Ricker shook his head. "Loyalty is earned over time. Your trust may be a mistake." Nilo stepped forward. "I know I don't belong, but I want to help your people survive. The Draskin are a threat to all Zerathi." Ricker's eyes narrowed. "You speak like a leader." "I don't want to lead," Nilo said. "I want to be part of a team." Tensions grew. Ricker demanded a council meeting with leaders from other hives. They questioned Nilo's presence, his motives, his very nature. Some spoke of fear of the unknown, fear of change. Others whispered of opportunity, perhaps. Humans could bring new strength. Vrexa defended Nilo fiercely. "He has saved this hive," she said. "He understands both our technology and your fears." Nilo listened quietly. He realized that being part of the hive meant more than repairs and battles. It meant trust, respect, and a fight for acceptance. One evening, Nilo walked with Tika outside the hive. The sky was dark, but the stars shone brightly. "I know they don't all trust me," Nilo said. Tika nodded. "Change is slow. Fear is strong." Nilo smiled faintly. "Then we just have to keep trying." Tika chirped softly. A sudden sound echoed from the distance. Nilo and Tika froze. A group of Draskin scouts appeared, sneaking toward the hive. Nilo grabbed his toolkit. "We have work to do," he said. The battle was fast and fierce. The Draskin scouts tried to damage the outer walls, but Nilo and the Zerathi guards fought back with power and skill. Tika helped tend to the wounded, her quick hands steady and sure. After the fight, Vrexa approached Nilo. "You have become part of this hive," she said. Nilo looked into her eyes. "I never wanted to be a stranger," he replied. "I want to be home." The queen smiled softly. "The future will not be easy," she said, "but with you, we may have a chance." The long war between Earth and the Varelian Empire had reached a point where both sides were tired. The stars that once shone brightly were now used as battlegrounds. Space stations floated like broken bones, and colonies on both sides had become ruins. It had been 12 years of battles, losses, and no clear winner. But today, something different was happening. A peace meeting had been called. It was held in neutral space, on a quiet station called Harmony Reach. The space station was old but still strong. It floated near a calm blue star, far from any human or Varelian homeworld. On the human side, many leaders had arrived, admirals, diplomats, and even scientists came. One man, Tomas, was not famous. He wasn't a soldier or an expert. He was only sent because the main diplomat had been injured in a shuttle crash. Tomas was young, quiet, and often ignored. But he listened carefully. He was smart, even if others didn't notice. The Varelians arrived in silver ships shaped like wings. They were tall, with glowing blue skin and bright golden eyes. They moved with grace and spoke in calm, deep voices. Most humans feared them. Their power in battle was terrifying. Their technology was advanced, and their leader was a mystery. Until today. When the meeting started, something happened that shocked both sides. Queen Azera, the ruler of the Varelians, entered the room herself. No one expected her to come. She had never shown herself in public during the entire war. Her presence was enough to make every voice go silent. She wore a long robe that shimmered like water. Her crown floated slightly above her head, glowing softly. Her eyes were focused, strong, and full of knowledge. Tomas stood at the back of the room, watching everything. He was not supposed to speak, but he was curious. He had read everything about the Varelians before coming here. He had even tried learning a bit of their language. Then something strange happened. Queen Azera looked across the room and her eyes stopped on Tomas. Everyone noticed. She walked past generals and leaders and stopped in front of him. "You," she said in a clear voice. "You're human, yes?" Tomas nodded, unsure of what to say. "Yes, I am." She looked at him for a long moment. The room was completely quiet. Then she said the words that would change history. "If you marry me, I can end the war." Human gasps filled the room. Several human officers stood up. A Varelian guard stepped forward, but Azera raised her hand. Silence returned. Tomas blinked. "I'm sorry. What did you say?" Queen Azera didn't smile. She wasn't joking. "I said what I mean. I have the power to stop this war. But I need a reason, a bond, a signal to my people and yours that we are no longer enemies. If you marry me, that bond is made." The human commander, General Redden, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this is no time for games. I do not play," Azera said, her voice calm but firm. "My empire is on the edge. Many of my people now believe. Humans are not enemies but rivals worth respecting. Others still want to fight. My marriage to a human would unite the Varelians. It would change their minds, but not just any human. One who understands peace." Her eyes turned again to Tomas. "I saw you during the last meeting. You asked why war was the first choice. You asked why we don't talk like beings with minds. You didn't speak like a soldier. That is why I choose you." Tomas felt heat rise in his face. "But I'm no one important. I'm not even supposed to be here." "Exactly," she said. "That is why it must be you." The room fell into chaos. Some human leaders whispered. Others argued. Was this a trap, a trick? Was she serious? Back in Earth Command, the news spread quickly. Some thought Tomas should refuse. Others thought it was the best chance for peace. Tomas was taken aside by the Human Council. "You can't agree to this without thinking," said one diplomat. "But if she's telling the truth," said another, "this could save billions of lives." Tomas sat quietly, his mind full of thoughts. He didn't know the queen. He didn't even know what Varelian marriage meant, but something in her voice was honest. Something in her eyes was tired, not of power, not of ruling, but of war. Later that night, Tomas asked to meet the queen alone. They met in a private room aboard Harmony Reach. It had glass walls that showed the star glowing outside. The silence of space surrounded them. "Why me?" he asked again. "Because I cannot marry a soldier. I cannot marry a man who wants power. I need one who still believes in peace, even when peace seems lost." Tomas looked at the stars. "And if I say no, then we return to war. And I will fight, but I will know peace was possible and lost." He nodded slowly. "And if I say yes, then peace begins. We rebuild. Not just empires, but trust." Tomas stood for a long moment. He didn't know what the future would be. But something in his heart told him that this was not a trap. This was real. He looked at her. "All right," he said quietly. "I'll do it." Queen Azera gave the smallest smile. "Then let the stars witness our promise."